Well, g'day everyone, welcome back to the Khoocast. My name is Nick. Today we are going to go over a couple of things, really just movie stuff. I mean, I really haven't been doing anything else at this point, but look, Avengers End Game is coming out pretty soon. I mean, it's right around the corner. It's probably set to make, I reckon, my prediction, at least $2 billion. It's going to be a monster, guys. Like, we have had 14 movies, I believe, 14, 15 movies basically leading up to this film. Ridiculous, man. This is basically the longest running movie series I've ever seen. It is astounding that we have gotten this far. If you go back and think about Iron Man, the first Iron Man, what an amazing movie that was, and what a strong start. I mean, basically, if you think about it, the MCU really owes everything to Robert Downey Jr. So, kudos to that dude, because without RDJ, we would not be where we are today. So look, it's gonna be good. Now, I've obviously been looking at and thinking about, since Infinity War, what is going to happen basically in Avengers End Game. We've already seen the trailers, which have dropped. They've dropped multiple trailers now. I'm basically not watching any more trailers anymore because I'm a bit afraid that I'm actually gonna put the plot together if I see too much stuff from the trailers. So I've deliberately given myself a bit of a media blackout. A bit like Game of Thrones. When Game of Thrones comes on during the day, I'll avoid social media. I think that's just prudent. You don't want to accidentally see a red wedding spoiler or a something dumb come up. And unfortunately, I got spoiled for the red wedding. It wasn't as big a shock as I think most people got, but it would have been nice to know how shocked I would have been. I kind of guessed it though. So yeah, media blackout for me until basically the movie comes out on Anzac Day next week, which is it's been good. I like having an Avengers movie on Anzac Day. It's been kind of a new tradition in Australia, so it's been kind of cool. It's probably one of the reasons why we make so much money, because everybody's just going to the cinemas and just watching Avengers movies on Anzac Day. Is it sacrilegious? I don't think so. I think this is what, I think this is what Australians fought for, just to have the ability to basically watch Avengers on Anzac Day. So thank you to the Anzacs. You guys are great. Anyway, so look, so my predictions basically for Avengers Endgame was always that, I don't know why anybody thought that any of those characters were really going to be gone for that long. I mean, I know people cried at the end of Avengers Endgame, but seriously, did anybody really think those guys are gone? I mean, they weren't going to really... Spoilers. I'm giving you the warning now. Spoilers, if you haven't seen Avengers Infinity War. And honestly, if you're listening to this podcast, why have you not seen it? It's probably It's probably in my top 5 of the Marvel MCU so far, and I've got a fairly extensive list. It's right up there. It's probably in my top 2 or 3, to be honest. Let's be honest. Not number 1, but top 2 or 3. Number 1 would definitely still be Iron Man. It's still a strong movie. I encourage you all to go watch that movie again. It is immensely watchable, just like the first Pirates of the Caribbean movie. That movie is really, really watchable on repeated viewings. I still watch Pirates of the Caribbean quite often, so I'm just letting you know. It's a good movie. Avengers, the first Avengers movie is actually pretty damn good too. It is solid, rock solid. Joss Whedon, high hopes for him, man. High hopes for him. But when he's kind of left a little bit to his own devices, he can pull out some great movies. And he is the king of ensemble cast movies. You only have to watch Serenity or Firefly, well, they're the same thing. Buffy, any movie where he basically has to do an ensemble, he's brilliant at. So the fact that he pulled off Avengers the way that he did was great. Justice League, not so much, but that was kind of a co-direct. So Joss Whedon, I don't know. I think he's a good director. It's kind of a shame that Age of Ultron kind of burned him out, because I didn't think that movie was that bad, but it definitely had some pacing problems. Much like, I don't know if anybody ever talks about Iron Man 2, but that movie was not good. That's probably that's probably near down the bottom of my list of Marvel movies, because it's not great. It's a bit of a mess, actually. I actually wrote a review on it back in the day, right after I saw it. I was so disappointed with Iron Man 2. Look, I don't hate I don't generally try and hate on movies too much, but that movie was just disappointing. I really wanted to like it. I think that was what was most disappointing about it. I loved Iron Man. I was so excited to see Iron Man 2, and it just wasn't great. Even what's that dude's name? Oh, I'm gonna have to look him up now. But the guy from Moon. Why am I spacing on his name? The guy who plays the what's his name? Robert Downey Jr.'s like rival in that particular movie. Who is the lead for Moon? Moon. Not Duncan Jones. He directed it. Sam Rockwell. Sam Rockwell is a great actor, and he couldn't save that movie. And we even had Mickey Rourke in that movie, and he still couldn't save that movie. Pacing was really the biggest issue of that movie. It just went all over the joint and didn't make a whole lot of sense. So, whatever. I'm honestly just tangenting big time. But look, this is not what you came here for. So my predictions for Avengers End Game. Look, we've got a time gem in play here. Let's just be honest here. Time gems basically get you out of a lot of problems. We already know Spider-Man's coming back. That was already kind of, I guess, quote unquote spoiled. But come on, did anybody honestly believe that Spider-Man was gone? One of the most profitable Marvel characters in history. I mean, they have already made 6 movies. They've rebooted him 3 times. And we got one of the most amazing animated movies last year in the form of Into the Spider-Verse. Can I just say, rewatching Into the Spider-Verse is from I'm not an animator. When I mean an animator, I'm not the greatest animator, but I do love animation and I aspire to be a better animator. But I'll never be a great animator. I'm never going to reach those ranks. I still love animation and I still use animation a lot in a lot of work that I do. However, Into the Spider-Verse was something next level. I have never seen a film like that ever before. And I call it a film. It's not an animated film. It is a film. It has got everything. And I dare anybody to watch that movie and not walk out with something from that movie because it is great. I'm actually really surprised it didn't make as much money as it did, but it should have made all the money, in my opinion. And one thing to highlight too was, this is one of my gripes too about, and sorry guys, I'm completely tangenting, you're probably not really interested in this anymore, but one of my biggest gripes with a lot of the movies that are happening at the moment is, I guess, it's sort of in the workplace as well, where I feel like the political correctness is sort of creeping in a little bit, where we have to kind of meet these, what I would call diversity targets. Now, whether you think they're good or bad, I'm not really here to discuss that. I'm just telling you that that's what's happening in every sphere of life at the moment. So it's happening in movies too, where basically they're trying to, try and get the right mix. I do this a lot in video stuff as well, is where you're basically making sure that you are representing certain people in the videos. And it's a very deliberate thing to do, is basically make sure there's, every group, apart from white people, unfortunately, is represented basically in the video. And so it's kind of it's sort of creeping in. Well, it has crept in. Let's not beat around the bush here. It has definitely crept into movies. And so it's what's happened. And this is the fascinating thing, is that I don't know what happened, but basically the writers or whoever's writing the stuff have basically fallen into the trap where they're pushing an agenda rather than pushing a story. And I can tell you right now that doesn't work, because if you watch any myriad of Christian films, which I watched a lot of them growing up, and I applaud my Christian brothers and sisters for trying to make a film that is trying to reach masses, but when you start with the agenda first, it is not a good starting point for writing good stories. And I feel like there are a lot of movies out there that start with the agenda first and then write a story around that agenda. And I can guarantee you, especially coming from the corporate world, as you can imagine, writing from an agenda first is not going to yield you the right story. I mean, story is the backbone of your movie. If you don't have a good story, you've lost the audience. And there's a certain sincerity that needs to come from your story. If it doesn't come from a place of truth and it comes from a place of an agenda, which is what I'm trying to say here, it doesn't ring true and the audience can't grab on and you lose them. going back to Into the Spider-Verse, this is a movie that does diversity right. And it doesn't feel like there's an agenda. It doesn't feel like anything's been pushed. It's like diversity is a part of the story, but it is not the story. It's a movie about family, and it's a movie about how if you are feeling like you're the only one in the world, there are other people out there who are just like you. And everybody has a gift. Everybody has to find that gift inside them to basically be better. I mean, there's a lot of narratives in that story, but there's a lot of really great story points about Into the Spider-Verse that I really loved. And it has a really diverse cast. I mean, the male lead is a black Hispanic kid. I mean, that is a pretty mixed character. I've never seen a Hispanic black kid in a movie before. I mean, as a lead before. We've also got that anime character, which technically would be Asian, I guess. We got Nick Cage, and we've got the Peter B. Parker. We've got Gwen Stacy, Spider-Gwen. I mean, it's just a great movie, and it hits on all fronts, and it hits those diversity targets. So, look, tip for writers out there, if you want to educate me, entertain me first, and then tell me the story, build some nice characters, make me fall in love with these characters, and don't build them from a diverse point of view. Build them from a story point of view. How does the diversity play into the story? And that's essentially what I think I would say everybody who writes stories out there needs to learn. I mean, it really bugs me sometimes because you can smell when somebody is trying to push a certain point of view a mile away. I mean, I think films essentially shouldn't be preachy. I mean, that's essentially why I think Christian films generally don't work. They don't come from they come from a place of good intention, but they don't come from a place of sincerity. And that's my issue with a lot of Christian films, is because they don't, the stories that they write don't come up from a place where a Christian walk would actually be derived from that point of view. It's always too perfect. It always ends too neatly, or it is like a derivative of somebody's actual walk. But when being a Christian, you do realize that your Christian walk is complicated. It is really, really complicated. It is not straightforward. I mean, getting saved is meeting Jesus for the first time. It's not like suddenly things completely change. Like, your bank account is still the same amount. I mean, you could be saved and somebody donates you $1 million, but for most of us, you go down the altar call, you get saved, and your life is essentially, for the most part, pretty much the same. The only difference is you know Jesus now, which is a massive part, of course. But what I'm saying is that the outworking of your journey with Christ is complicated. You'll have your ups and downs, you'll have your battles, you'll have your discussions with God. And I haven't seen a movie that really represents that aspect of Christianity in a way that I at least feel is what I feel is the way that a Christian walk is. I'm hoping to be the first. Aren't we all hoping to be the first? It's like the first person trying to crack video games and movies, which honestly, I think they're getting very close. We'll see. There's a Super Mario Brothers movie coming out soon from the guys who are doing Despicable Me 2. So I don't know why I picked Despicable Me 2. There's so many other movies they did. Despicable Me 1. But those dudes, they're making a Super Mario Brothers movie. To be honest, man, I can't understand why they haven't figured out how to do a Zelda movie. We have Game of Thrones on TV. We could have a Zelda movie. Like, come on, guys. Let's, Nintendo, get that licensing property out. Let's go make a Zelda movie. Come on. Breath of the Wild, we already saw that. Or even a Zelda anime would be good. I would love to see that. Anyway, I'm completely tangenting on this point here. What I'm saying is, okay, so Into the Spider-Verse, a great movie. We're talking about Spider-Man. I'll bring this right back. We'll just bring that rubber band. That was a long rubber band to stretch out, to basically tangent, to basically say that Spider-Man is not gone. Let's be honest here. He's back. we all knew that. Homecoming trailer came out. It's obviously set up the events after Avengers Infinity War, so we know everything seems to be fine. Black Panther, I guarantee you, will not be dead. They just made $1 billion from the last movie. Why would they get rid of basically one of their most profitable characters? You got to be kidding me. No way. No friggin' way they're going to get rid of one of their most profitable characters. Who else? Doctor Strange also disappeared. Can't imagine they would let him go just yet. I mean, but he's pretty much a constant. He's such a powerful character in the MCU. I can't imagine they would just let him die now. We only just got introduced to him. Unlikely he's going to die. Now, who is going to die? I feel Iron Man. Tony Stark is going to die. I don't know how. I have a feeling only because... I'm only speculating this because we all know that a few contracts are actually up. We know that Robert Downey Jr. is up. We know that Chris Evans is up. And I believe Chris Hemsworth is also up. So those 3 guys are definitely out. There is a possibility that... So I feel that RDJ is definitely going to leave. I don't know how or why Tony Stark would leave, but I feel like he's going to die or give himself up. He might be the one who actually takes down Thanos. We don't know. I don't think so. I'll tell you why in my second point. Also, Captain America. I feel maybe they will both go out in a blaze of glory. I don't know. And Thor, I'm not sure. I feel like Thor is going to basically morph into something else. They might bring in the girl Thor. I forget. I don't know what her name is. One of her, well, yeah, I don't know. They might do that. I really don't know. But Chris Hemsworth is leaving, so those 3 guys are definitely up on their contracts. They might come back. I don't know, but their contracts are definitely up, so we don't know. Now, who else? We've basically got. What's my other point here? Okay, Captain Marvel. So they've obviously pitched Captain Marvel as one of the most powerful characters in the MCU. They're talking about it. If you've seen any of the press junkets they've been doing recently, they've been kind of talking about how they've been talking up big about how powerful Captain Marvel is. Essentially, she could be the most powerful character in the Marvel universe at this point. So we'll see. We'll see how that plays out. I have a feeling that they're going to use her to basically take down Thanos. I feel like that's super predictable. I hope they didn't do that. I hope they don't go that route. I really hope they find a way to basically make it a bit more unpredictable than that, because, well, I don't know. Like, why do we have to have... it doesn't really interest me to see the biggest character, the most powerful character kill the most powerful villain. I mean, I'm sure it'd be cool, but it's not as interesting. I would like to see something... There was originally an Avengers Infinity War story in the comics where Squirrel Girl actually becomes the one who takes down Thanos. Obviously, there's a lot of these fan theories on the internet of, what's his name? Ant-Man, jumping into Thanos' butt and exploding him from the inside out. Could be. I doubt it, but I'm pretty sure the MCU guys have confirmed. Pretty sure the Russo brothers have confirmed that is not going to happen. But interesting theory nonetheless. So who's going to take down Thanos? I don't know. My money is it's going to be somebody we have. It's not going to be who we think it is. And I don't know if it's going to be a team effort. I think poetically it should be. What's his name? It should be Star-Lord. Poetically, I think it should be Star-Lord who takes him down. That's my prediction. That would be the one that I want to see take down Thanos, because he has caused... I mean, Thanos has caused a lot of suffering for all the Avengers, but I think the one who has the most personal beef with Thanos is definitely Star-Lord, because he killed Gamora, obviously. Interesting too. I wonder if Gamora is going to come back, because that was a pretty tragic death. But I guess, again, if the time gem kind of kicks into play, we can get everybody back. So now, do we think Loki is going to come back? Because it depends on when we get the time gem and how far we go back or whatever. Oh, and the Hulk has to come back in this too, right? So we haven't seen the Hulk for a while. Like, the Hulk wasn't really in the last movie. He was kind of there, but he kind of got smashed. And, Mark Ruffalo, what's his name? Bruce Banner. is just kind of hanging out. Eric Bana, did you realize that? Eric Bana and Bruce Banner. I mean, because Eric Bana used to played the Hulk in that one movie that we never talk about anymore. Sorry, I just realized that was a complete coincidence, but it's kind of cool. Anyway, so Bruce Banner, he wasn't doing anything. He doesn't know how to Hulk out at the moment, so it'd be interesting to see how he treats his Hulk dysfunction at this point. We'll see how he sort of solves that. Yeah, and I don't know. I've kind of deliberately kept myself in the dark about the details of what's happening with this next Avengers movie, apart from the handful of trailers, but I think they have to go to the quantum realm, which I believe is something they established in the Ant-Man and the Wasp. I mean, in the Ant-Man movies, which I haven't actually seen. I'm in the process of watching Ant-Man and the Wasp, and so far, so good. I actually missed this one at the cinemas. For whatever reason, I wasn't interested, or I just didn't quite get to the cinemas to watch it. Ant-Man is not really a draw card for me. I have to admit, even Captain Marvel wasn't really a draw card for me. Some of these sort of I don't know, B movies, I guess, if they're not really part of the bigger ones, I'm not really super keen on them. It's funny, right? Like, you kind of think, oh, if it's only about one superhero movie, if it's only about one superhero, I'm not super interested. But, you know, I mean, it's serviceable. I haven't noticed anything just yet. I do like the chemistry between Evangeline Lilly and Paul Rudd. They're pretty. Paul Rudd is. I forgot how funny this dude is. He's a funny dude. Slapping the bass, anybody? Anyway, so that's a reference to, what's that movie? The one. I'm drawing massive blanks here. What's that movie with Paul Rudd and the guy Marshall from? Is it? I'm gonna have to look this up. This is gonna bug me, guys. I'm really sorry. I'm drawing some massive blanks here, and my memory is just shot to pieces. Paul Rudd. What was he in? I Love You, Man. Yeah, that's a movie. That's from 2009. Funny movie though. It is pretty funny because you're slapping a bass. All right. Yeah. So basically that's those are really only my predictions for what I think is going to happen in Endgame. Yeah, they're basically saying that. Captain Marvel is... I think that they're sort of pushing that Captain Marvel is essentially going to save the day. Kind of boring if that's the case. I really hope they don't kind of go that direction, but we'll see. I'd like to see actually how they play out. As I was saying, I don't think I've actually said this. One of the things that kind of stuck out with me with Captain Marvel was that I was actually fine with the movie per se. It was fine. It wasn't as SJW as people were saying it was. It had some overtones of feminism, but nothing outrageous. It was just like, okay, it's female. It's a female empowerment movie, but I didn't feel like I was being preached to too much. They kind of struck the level quite right. But definitely watching Samuel Jackson though makes everything good. I mean, I can see this guy in everything. So I felt like he was definitely a saving grace for this movie because Brie Larson. I don't know her enough to know if she's a good or a bad actor. I've only seen her in a handful. I really haven't seen her in anything apart from Scott Pilgrim versus the World, where he played Scott Pilgrim's girlfriend, the Demon Head, whatever the band that she was in. But yeah, so I haven't seen her in anything else, so I can't compare her acting. But she was good in that movie. I thought she was quite funny in Scott Pilgrim, but I haven't seen her in anything else. So, but she came off. I don't know if I can't always attribute wooden acting to the actor because. From all accounts, I mean, she won an Oscar for Room, so I can't imagine she's a terrible actor. I mean, Hayden Christensen, prior to episode 2 and 3, was a I don't think he was a terrible actor. I think he was actually kind of lauded. Apparently, he was a good actor. So, and George Lucas is definitely not an actor's, not an actor's director. I can tell you this much. He's gone on record saying that he's not an actor's director at all. And I think a lot of the actors from episode 4 and to 6, basically, or like basically the original cast, like Mark Hamill and Harrison Ford and Carrie, basically said that he's not that good a director in terms of directing actors. But So I'm very hesitant to say if Brie Larson was the reason why the wooden performances kind of came out. She just wasn't particularly endearing or likable. Some people might like her. I didn't find her very likable at all. I didn't find her as anybody that I wouldn't want to hang out with her. Where as opposed to Tony Stark, you want to definitely hang out with that dude. You know what I'm saying? Like that's kind of the difference I'm talking about. I mean, she's no Keanu Reeves, but you know, that being an aside. So these movies are all fine. So I'm interested to see how Avengers End Game ends up. Oh, and other news, I just saw a video today from HBO basically talking about the Game of Thrones episode 1. It basically going behind the scenes. I actually was a pretty good doco actually talking about all the work that goes into making Game of Thrones. It is a massive operation, as you would imagine it would be, because quite frankly, why would you not think that it would be? It takes armies, man. It takes armies to make this show. So I just, I was watching. But what was really cool about this little doco was they were talking about how George Lucas, the man from Star Wars, the director, the creator, the master, the maestro. Sorry, the soprano. I got a little bit dramatic there. The maestro himself turned up on set for Game of Thrones. And there was a rumor that he directed a couple of scenes, which is kind of cool from the first ep. So that's kind of cool. I actually don't know. I read two conflicting articles. One was saying that he did direct it, and another was saying that he didn't direct it. He didn't direct the episode, but he might have directed a couple of scenes. Anyway, it's kind of cute, kind of charming. If you want to go see it, it's I think it's on the HBO YouTube channel. It's like a 13-minute documentary talking about all the different things that are Game of Thrones. Worth a watch because it kind of helps you understand a little bit more of what was happening in that episode. And spoilers again if you haven't seen Game of Thrones episode 1 for season 8. So I'm going to spoil that again. So please go watch it if you don't want to, or just don't listen. Fast forward the next minute or so. I don't know. But basically there was that scene where the kid is pinned to the wall at the end of that episode, which is just terrifying. I mean, it was not a great scene. But so when they set when I'm saying this, if you know the episode, it's not as terrible. I mean, the kid does get set on fire, but he's a zombie kid, so it's all right. So the kid gets set on fire, and the kid on there was a stunt guy playing the kid, and he actually got lit on fire, and he was on fire for at least like 8 seconds. It was insane. They had a stunt double guy basically get lit on fire. I mean, that explains. I thought it was animatronics or something or CG, but it was a real dude on fire. So just keep that in mind. That's the dedication they put on this show. So you better appreciate it. You better appreciate. I also heard some other news that George R. R. Martin said that if he was to truly flesh out the end of the series, if they were to truly flesh out the end of the series for Game of Thrones, it would probably take another 5 seasons. I believe that. And it will be interesting to see when the next book, I think... I don't know what the next book is called. I'm not a Game of Thrones book fan, so I apologize. But I'm after this, I will probably, if he does release the book, obviously towards either the end of the season or maybe, I guess it won't be. He's not going to release it in the next 6 weeks, is he? But if he does release it, I'd be interested to take a look. I'd be interested to see what this, how he would have deviated from the books, especially season 7, because. Especially after Jon Snow died, my friend Ali said that it took a bit of a dip, and I have to go back and rewatch it, but I guess he was right in the sense that maybe I didn't notice it, but definitely season 7 was the most noticeable in terms of the writing quality was not definitely on par with the previous seasons. So anyway, guys, so it's Easter weekend. I hope you guys are going to have a safe time spending it with friends and family. Look, be safe. And we'll definitely get some updates. I'll go through, there's going to be another Game of Thrones review episode or recap episode on Monday, around Monday or so. So keep that in mind. I'm going to try and put up some more content. There will be an Avengers End Game review at some point as well, which is going to be really cool. I'm excited to see that movie. What do you guys think? What are you excited to see? There's a whole bunch of stuff coming out in April, which I'm super excited to see. We've got Game of Thrones and Avengers End Game at the same time. It's pretty darn exciting. Anyway, guys, Thanks for listening, and I'll see you next time.